Hello, the Knights of the Rolled Table, and thanks for listening. So what we have for you this week is not a regular episode. Last week, episode 12, was the conclusion of our first sort of full story arc. And next week, we are going to be beginning Season 2, which is going to be DM'd by Chris Daly, who has previously played Gravely. We recorded a couple of those episodes. I'm really excited to share them with you, and Chris is doing a great job DMing, and I am really enjoying playing. I'm excited to introduce you to Jarek Darkharbor, criminal, paladin, warlock. It's complicated. We'll explain it later. Jarek's a lot of fun for me to play, and it's a lot less pressure for me to just be like listening and playing and enjoying, because improvising with these awesome folks is a lot of fun. So enjoy it. What you're listening today is kind of like a debrief episode. So immediately after recording episode 12, we hung around and kind of talked about how it had gone and our plans and highlights of the season. And specifically, there's also some kind of inside extra information about what the Knights of the Realm are and the ways they introduce each other. We also, at the end of the episode, have a sneak peek of Season 2. So definitely listen to that. So thanks again for listening. Thanks again for spreading the word and helping us launch and get started. Thanks for leaving your reviews. And also, if you can follow us on, you know what, you guys, on Instagram this week, we've posted maps, some really cool maps of the realm of Oakhart, and then also like a zoomed in piece of the map of where Respite is and some of the locations around that. That's really cool. So check out Instagram at Knights of the Rolled Table Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Rolled Table. You can follow me personally because I tweet about the podcast, and also because I'm a therapist, I tweet about sort of like the intersection of mental health and role-playing games, which is a lot of fun. That's at MFTZACH. Follow Chris at Daily Tunes RPG, and Weston is responsible for our kind of extra soundtrack music in the final episode, which was super rad. He also does the last week on recaps, which are super. Basically, anything you hear on the podcast that's like really cool, not just like that was nice, but like, whoa, that was really cool. That's probably Weston is responsible for that. So you can follow him at Make My Anthem on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks very much for your support. As always, go out and make life an adventure.
Oh, wow.
We back!
Hey, we're back!
Yo, welcome back to Knights of the Rolled
Wow.
Table.
I feel like we should all be taking a shot right now, like just as a like, hey, that was a thing. I feel like for a first real like podcast adventure, that was like
super fun.
Good job. Can we just have a moment for Zach?
Zach Stone.
That's awesome, man.
You almost made me cry.
Really
That's
good.
cool.
I know, like especially like with Sindel and like, oh my god, can't even do my stupid thing because I'm having feelings.
Yeah, I don't know how that went. I wasn't making eye contact with anybody when I was doing
It was very moving.
between Cinderella and her mom.
Yeah, I liked it.
Heavy.
So we are sitting around the table. We just finished recording episode 12, which is the last episode of the arc that I'm going to DM.
Baker's dozen.
Because Chris is going to be taking over with some of the same characters and some different characters. I'll be playing a character. I can do that too.
Oh, man.
In the next arc, but we're just going to record a little bit of like thoughts and questions and how that little arc went and kind of like how the podcast is going so far. So what do you guys think? Let's discuss.
Well, the first really interesting thing is
I have removed, by the way, I physically removed my DM screen from the table.
Wow.
Just for
now
all
it's just
you
now it's just a roll table.
Get him!
He's not a floating.
I think the first thing that's kind of interesting is the Knights of the Realm concept, because there's three characters now that are part of that, and it might be something that out of all the realms we're going to see. We might not know, but we might meet characters that are part of this.
Well, that's
Yes, who else is a Knight of the Realm? So
Well, we
Cora
know
Seven
that
and Donovan are Coral, Cavan, Savin. Coral is not even a person.
Sora.
Sora, Cavan, and Donovan are all knights, and you don't really know who else might be that you might encounter in your travels.
Wick.
Black Pepe.
Wick
And there's
the
no
2-year-old.
there's no badge or like insignia or like brand or secret
It's a butt tattoo.
a butt tattoo.
Yeah.
We have to put this butt tattoo on your butt.
There's a Usenet handle.
That's actually what
Show
the
me
mark
your
of
butt.
Yanagu is.
So we didn't cover like how you tell.
But redo it.
I think there should be some sort of like little.
So yeah, one thing like
He's resistant to
we'll have to unveil like
piercing.
the ways, the bonuses to being a knight and the ways. But one thing is when you stood up all together and you looked at the place where the knight held your forearm, there's now a mark there that you can see.
Gravely has it on his upper tricep. It's just like up here because
Like an armband.
up high.
it's a little high.
So you can see that mark, and now that you have a mark, you can see a similar mark on Sora and Kevin and Donovan's forearms, but only
only
you
visible
can
to
see
them?
them.
They weren't there before.
You couldn't see them before, but now you can see them. So that's a way that knights identify each other.
Okay, that's cool.
That is rad.
Some ink. Freshing.
Invisible ink.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true.
+1 to perception.
Zach, since we just did it, how were you expecting that last battle to go?
Yeah.
At least for getting into that first ring, is that what you had planned? Is for us to kind of get into that drawbridge? Like, what was
Like
your
prying it open with a single arrow.
like the sabotage, or what was your idea for setting us?
I think
into
there were a few
moving
things
into
that went off the rails there a little bit.
I have to think back.
Hold on. You didn't
whole-
prep for sexy sheep?
No, I didn't. I didn't plan for sheep or camels in
No
that
one ever
scenario.
expects a sexy
Well, it kind of makes me think like when Gravely got that guy in the armor, he went after, he just got distracted by the armor and not went after that dude. And if I found that dude and got that mark, that would have been an interesting shift. But
Yeah, back
that
then,
didn't
like
happen.
the concept that Mannheim, the little three ring-tailed lemur, was in that armor and controlled the mark. Like I definitely had that way back in various ways that could have played out, could have gone differently. Yeah, I didn't really know. I just sort of like set up a situation where you guys had all sorts of ridiculous options and the portal thing and a lot going on, and I figured you'd figure out a way. I mean, it's stuff like that I usually figure out like at least one way that I could imagine it happening. If
Well, I felt like you were kind of pushing, like with the staff thing, for that to be a possible answer in that.
yeah, well, the fact that the staff could cast portals to the Feywild was certainly an option that we didn't actually end up using. But yeah, I mean, so I could imagine various ways to do that, but I figured like you guys will figure that out, and I shouldn't be pushing towards one way, and you certainly did in very unique fashion.
What was it about Maya's teleportation with the thunder step that threw you so much? Because that definitely seemed to be the thing that was most surprising.
Well, yeah, I figured you guys would be up there and get the mark by defeating Mannheim, and then probably be able to do something. You'd be in control of the Knoll army and could send it out and do whatever to turn the battle outside. You'd be able to see from up there what was going on from the battle. You'd have a good vantage point. You could send them out there and take care of things and have things be
Yeah,
all
all
good.
of those things make a lot of sense.
The way it played out, like you took him out, and now the mark's
Instantly
up
went away.
there, and you guys are all down there between all the knolls, which was a ridiculously large number because I expected that just to be an army you'd get to like throw into the battle. Yeah, I didn't have a clear plan, but
Okay.
I mean that was at least an option. Or I mean, worst case scenario, the crazy knolls would be down there. You wouldn't be amongst them when they woke up.
But you knew
And
that
I definitely had to reason through, like, wait, what would happen in this scenario? And you can probably hear me, like, processing through that and realizing, oh, they're going to wake up and xXBloodyHeart and Saeleas are right in there.
But you had planned for Sindel to be not coming back. Yes?
Yes, at some point. Like, a lot of me piecing together this campaign has been one at a time. Like, I didn't plan too many details in the future. Like, my format all along has been, I need to know roughly what's going to happen in this episode that we're recording, and I need to know kind of vaguely what's going to happen next time so I can kind of set it up. And beyond that, I want to keep kind of only the bare bones so that things that develop organically can play big parts. So actually the realization of that being what Sindel is there for was definitely something I arrived at. I think after episode 10, I was kind of stuck. We had a fair length of time between episode 10, which was the Return to the Feywild episode, and the assault on the fortress, where we didn't record. And I was like, man, what's going to happen? And then I kind of tapped into that and went, oh yeah, that'd be good.
I won't lie. I kind of kept waiting for oh shoot, what's the name of the little boy, the drooler? Wick. I was like, yeah, Wick keeps bringing up the drool. Like, this baby's drool is gonna be a thing at
Magic
some point.
drool.
Like, I was ready.
Water
I was
power.
like,
Chekhov's drool.
Come on, Chekhov's drool.
I mean, we don't know that that's not true. It just
I mean,
didn't play a role.
if
That
we
would have
had
made us
forever.
immune to fire instead of just resistant.
We're just rubbing ourselves in Wick's
Baby
spit.
drool.
Oh.
Where
Or like
was
it'd be
Wick?
like a Jack situation where
Somebody
he
must
just,
have been babysitting Wick during that.
Oh, he wasn't in the-
battle.
he wasn't in the
I didn't
armor
trust it. No, he
papoose
was
again?
not. He was not marched
Back in
into the
town
battle.
with,
Which, by the way, would actually be a terrible place to put a baby in a battle.
Right in front of you.
Yeah.
Well, he had a tower
Don't
shield
you
as
dare
well.
diss the armor
Oh, but
papoose,
that
because
baby
I'm
is-
not gonna lie,
yeah.
that's in my head. That's a canon. That is
Wick has significant hearing loss though.
He's got a little helmet on. Got earmuffs.
earmuffs.
Oh, man.
Just
I
an
think
iPad.
Jess and I both with the mention
Play
of the
Minecraft.
papoose.
Yeah, you
We're
were
just oh.
That was the funniest.
Kevin just redeemed himself from all of the previous idiocy that he had done.
What were you guys favorite moments of?
I liked fighting the basilisk. That was a fun. That was a
That
fun
was
way.
ridiculous.
I liked the XXBloodyHeart gang, in the Feywild.
Oh, the
little
prison
side
break?
quest, the prison break
Oh,
of
that was
XX
great.
Bloody
That was
Heart.
really fun.
That was fun.
That was real
It's kind
fun.
of unexpected and oh wow, we get to play these other characters.
Well, and getting thrown a character like that, just kind of where it's like, okay, you're playing this character, go. As you guys know, I tend to get a little
Kind of a one-shot.
backstory heavy.
Do you?
Shut up.
it was just a fun little one shot of just boom, there it is. And
Yeah.
that's all it
Yeah,
was.
that was super fun. That would probably plan that episode least because I was just I'm just going to give them these characters
Yeah.
and they're going to figure it out. A lot of faith in you guys that you do awesome stuff with just being handed a very weird
I had
character
2
sheet.
hit points.
Yes.
Hey, that's twice as many
Yeah.
as Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, poor
Bill.
Bill.
And that's maybe my
You're
famous
such a
episode.
good sport for the Bill thing. Just letting
You have a
that ride.
familiar now? What? That was good.
What?
This is the bio that I sent Chris for our next campaign.
Goodness.
It's about a dozen paragraphs, and I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
So that's what we're referencing when we talk about backstory.
good stuff.
There's no chill.
It's good stuff.
I think I sent 2
Thank you.
lines to Zach for mine.
I've seen your bios, Jeff.
Whatever.
You're the worst. But also, XXBloodyHearts was arguably, I think. Well, I loved all of the characters that we had in this campaign, but he was the one that I was expecting to hate the most, and I wound up, I think, loving.
He was my favorite character.
He was such a great counterpoint to so
yeah.
much.
Well, I think having I feel like with a rogue, you either have to really lean into it, or you have to be playing against the norm.
Yeah.
And leaning into it was the right decision. That was, and doing it in such a unique way.
Well, that trope of late 90s, early 2000s, scene kid,
Yeah.
Emo kid was such a great
great.
Like a
vehicle
dash
for that
of Kylo
class.
Ren thrown on
so
top.
Oh, yeah.
good.
And speaking of rogues, shout out to Jessica Burness
Oh,
for
yeah.
playing Lyra and the flaw of just being a terrible liar was really funny.
Every
Just
single time you're like, do I
don't think you're
believe
telling
her?
the truth.
She was role playing her butt off, and I listening back to that, I was like, man, I feel like I'm not even trying compared to her. She was doing so good. It's such a great addition.
Love JTB.
Yeah, she's the best.
So yeah, that was. It'll be interesting, to see if any of those characters pop up again in the future and this next campaign.
Yeah, so concept of that, these characters aren't going away. We'll both return to them. Some will pop up in Chris's episode and definitely Chris's arc, but beyond that, we'll definitely return to these characters. So it's not that this is the end for these characters. We're doing something new. Is the concept that we're doing as a podcast is like really exploring this world from all areas and mixing up different characters and creating this whole canon of people that come in and out of the story that we're following, which I think will be fun. And you'll get to hear different people DM, and I'm excited to play.
Yes,
So
Zach is a
much
very
to be expected.
experienced DM, and I am a not experienced DM, so I will be learning along the way with everybody,
Which is great.
which is good. And it's part of our mission statement of like helping people learn, and we're learning ourselves.
When Chris does DM, he'll like roll out detailed maps and drawings.
Oh, yeah.
and
Oh,
he'll
yeah.
send
Sure.
out,
All things that'll work great
here's
in
a
audio
picture
format.
that I've created
Well-
of this person.
Well, those can all go up on Instagram.
There's
Yeah.
likely to
Yeah.
be a lot of supplemental material
Daily
and a lot of
Crunch
Chris.
RPG.
You're gonna have to explain what it is we're looking at.
Yeah.
What you need to do ahead of time is like number and letter everything. So it's like you can put them up on Instagram
It's
when
not
the episode
Battleship.
drops, and
Asian.
then it's like, please refer to diagram 6F, and then everybody at home can go and cool.
Oh, we
If you
can
look
do
at
like
the Instagram post on
Yeah.
August 15th.
we can do like
Oh my
like with
God.
audiobooks where there's that supplemental PDF that comes with some
Yeah,
things. It's like, yeah, look
when
at
you
this page.
hear the ding, turn
Yeah.
the page.
What if the artwork for the podcast was just the map of like what's happening? Like,
You know, though, regardless, I mean, I know obviously this is a D&D podcast, and we kind of in our own little mini chat talked a little bit, but I'll bring this up. I think that we part of when you were asking about favorite moments. My favorite moments were pretty role play heavy and probably less rules heavy. And those were some of my favorite things. And I really am grateful to all of you for humoring those moments, especially because I'm terrible with the rules of D&D, apparently. And I'm just like, but this is what I want to do.
Oh, I'm sure we'll have lots of friends on the internet letting us all know how terrible all of us are.
Oh, over
The
Comic-Con,
rules
I've
of-
already had several. I was told verbatim, and I'm going to throw this out here because if I say it first, today is July 25th. It is 10:46 p.m., and so I'm going to be quoted as saying, I was told that we look at the rules, we see the rules, we wave at them, and then we go on and do our own thing anyways. Woo! And you know what? I take
a
that as
fair
a compliment.
Yeah.
I take that as a compliment because you know what? It's 5th edition, so,
Yeah, I think that's probably like, that's about what I'm aiming for. I mean, we do I would
Rules
say
of the-
we're pretty solidly like following how a spell works and all of that, but for sure, partly because like the game is meant to be played around a table and we're trying to accommodate that 6th person out there, or 7th at the moment, which is you at home, and everything that would be best around the table is not best to listen to, but also there's definitely a wide range of how to play this game, and 5th edition in particular. Actually, one of the Wizards of the Coast people tweeted out the other day was kind of going through like, this is this rule, and something he sent out Jeremy Crawford tweeted out the other day, D&D is a co-op game. DMs are meant to adjudicate the rules with the aim of maximizing the fun of their groups, and the happiest groups listen to one another. Listen, laugh, roll some dice, adventure. Which, I think that's...
yeah, and he
A
makes
good-
all the rules.
He's the rules guy
charge
at
of
Wizards of
Basically
the
saying
Coast.
it's okay to not, kind of bend the rules as long as you're having a good time and you agree on it at your table.
The rules are like the lines in a coloring book. It's okay to color outside of them if it makes the picture more fun to color.
Yeah, and I think we talked about in the How to D&D episodes, we kind of talked a lot about like some groups can be super rules heavy and by the books, and that's great as long as everybody in the group wants to do that, and some groups can just role play all day and not worry about the rules. And again, if everybody's on board with that, everybody wants to, cool. Like, I think a lot of times there's one angry person who's like, my character has this and this spell's supposed to work, and like that just might not be a mix for the people at your table, and you should bring that up and see if people are willing to accommodate, but also like you should hook up with a group that wants to play the way that you play. There's a lot of ways, and we're definitely on the improv. Definitely, for sure.
Yeah.
We're on the improv side of things, and for sure, the moments of role play where like I didn't have anything to plan. There's just a moment for you guys to talk. Those turned into the best, most awesome moments. At which point I'm like, oh man, the next what I have planned, there's going to be too much fighting and battling, and it's not going to have enough awesome moments for you guys to play. So probably some of my least favorite episodes are just like, well, this is going on and this battle is happening, and you have to do those when you guys totally shined in the moments of hanging out, walking up to the orcs and convincing them, doing a protest, all of that. Like that could have been a battle, but it was so much more so much better the way that it played out.
Well, and then Lyra taking their wages and you as the DM having that come back around, like, you know, that was fun. That was probably one of my favorite moments, was like the kind of callback to some of that stuff, you know, because actions have consequences. So it's always cool to see the world kind of grow with you in your story.
And just for the record, I'm totally a rules guy. Just rules and
Oh, we know, Weston.
Yeah, we know, and
I've seen
wanted
you
to use
cringe.
this opportunity actually to tell you something that
Yeah, this is actually an intervention.
We all
thanks
agreed.
for coming.
I have a card. Hang on, let me get the
This
card
whole
out. I've got a
podcast.
card.
Just well, and it's important for me to also, you know, play with the group. You know, like however the group is playing. Like I'm sure you've heard my remarks off, you know, about a rule or about a thing, and like those are very important to me. But what's more important to me is that we're having fun. You know, that we're enjoying ourselves. But
Well, and the rules, though, I mean, it is a game at the end of the
It's a
day.
game.
And, like, sometimes the rules, like, you know, you don't want to win everything. And you need to be restricted because, you know, that sometimes that conflict is what makes it interesting.
Yeah, Weston's presence for sure. There's a lot of times when I was like, Weston, how's this work?
Well, and I think also getting that dose of reality and saying like, reality, right? But that here's how the
Fairness
rules work.
is
That
really what
also
it is.
lets us
Yeah.
say, if the DM chooses to say, okay, that is how that works, but I'm going to choose not to do that for the sake of the story. It's still
We
useful to
literally did
know
that.
that we're making those trade-offs in
Yep.
that moment, as
literally
opposed to
just
just
did
blindly
that.
stumbling in.
The reason I love rules is that it promotes fairness, both when, you know, I feel like it makes you earn certain things. I also like that the rules make the game dangerous.
Yeah.
And that is something that I am very about. I love it when I feel like I'm about to lose my character, because not that like I randomly fell down a hole, you know, like, but that there was decisions made, the rules, the dice played out in such a way that guess what? I lost my character due to that.
There's consequences in that you can make a mistake and get yourself killed.
And get punished.
Yeah.
But it's fair.
Right.
It's fair because it was in the idea of the rules. So like I love the rules, but I also just love getting together and rolling dice and having fun with my friends. That's really what I most treasure.
Not me.
Your character
Jeff,
was also
tell
the
us
most
about-
likely to go in and just like blindly do what your character would do, as opposed to like what was the smart thing to do as a player, which I genuinely appreciated that, both as a listener and a fellow player.
This is only the second time that I've played like a quote unquote non-intelligent character, and I'm kind of a method actor. So I'm
Did
not
you
playing.
feel your IQ dropping?
Literally, I'm not playing him as a smart person thinking about what a dumb person would do. I'm like, I feel dumb when I'm playing coach. Like I feel dumber.
You look dumb when
Thank
you're
you.
playing. No, I'm just kidding.
but
I
his
feel
calves,
dumber. And
his
it's
calves,
a
though.
weird feeling.
Those calves.
It's
man.
a weird feeling.
Jeff,
Jen.
tell me about how you like to D&D.
A fast and loose, baby.
Oh, we know.
It's all about me. I apologize.
Yeah.
My one goal is to not do the thing that is like just an attack. Like that's like my one and only thing is like, what else can I do? I don't want to just stab with the
I
sword.
want to roll those dice.
I want to do something
Go ahead. Yeah,
insane.
it's fine.
So
Yeah.
like
Do
I'm
something
always
crazy.
looking through the inventory for
Extra
ball
abilities.
bearings or
Oh my
some
god.
other stuff.
Stupid ball
On the
bearings.
dirt floor.
Hey, we didn't make that clear.
ball bearings.
That wasn't clear, to be fair.
To be
That Fey court battle was pretty.
That
fun.
was really
That was a good
Oh,
one.
that was so
That was a fun
crazy
battle
with
at the-
zip and zop.
Zip Zop,
Zip and zap. And
who I confused right away.
Oh, we all
Immediately.
did.
Yeah, I think a big piece of podcasting D&D, I think, is like a lot of like, well, this battle this person is going to be difficult, and in order to play that out, everybody would probably make their standard most powerful attacks, and that'll take about 5 rounds of combat, and that'll be about 45 minutes of just recording us doing numbers, and I shoot him again, I hit him again, and so there's definitely a challenge to pacing that and finding interesting things to do. So every time that you guys had something crazy to pull off, it's so awesome. And I think also, to go back to like the rules, I think for me, when I'm going in a direction narratively and somebody goes like, well, actually it works like this, like I feel like that's a cool point, because it makes me take that and incorporate that and have to like improvise, like, all right, well, if I'm going to accept that is true, then what would happen, and focus through. And that, I think, leads me, whether as a player or a DM, that leads me to a place I wasn't expecting to go. And that's, I think, a really cool aspect. So I think like accepting the rules and then like pushing back, that's kind of the coolest part of improvising through something that has dice, through the structure, is I feel like it gives you things and you have to deal with that. So you can't go with your first instinct, which is probably kind of generic and boring. You have to take what you're given and then say like, okay, I was assuming this thing was going to work well, but it doesn't. What does that mean? I have to come up with a new situation. And sometimes there's a lot of times you can point back to like, yeah, that roll changed the whole course of history, or that misspoken word or whatever had a dramatic impact on things. If that, there's various
really
places where
milked
one
that
roll
camel
could have done a
thing.
whole different way.
Oh my god.
So
But as a note, like giving players like things that do random stuff
Weird
is
stuff.
like so good,
It's
because like maybe it comes in a pinch, or maybe it just there's a way that you use it that's not expected, and like that's the kind of stuff that I like a lot with.
best
Like
magic
the,
items.
like the hoops.
Yeah,
The hoops,
the hoops
baby.
of the snake at the end was
So good.
fantastic.
Yeah, I think that's a good DM note. Like, I always want to give my players good treasure, but if you just like, here's a super powerful sword and here's super powerful
yeah.
armor, you
Right,
end up with
plus
super powerful
6,
players
yeah,
that you just have to
sword.
hit with more powerful armor. So if you can just find interesting things, they have a couple of charges, or they do this really random thing, those are cool things to like hand out and challenge people to do fun stuff with. And when they have enough of those things, when somebody has a hoop and somebody has all sorts of random magic items, you can just say like, yep, here's this impenetrable fortress. How are you going to get in there? And have a fair amount of trust that like they're going to pull out one of these random things and figure out a way. Those are
You're gonna turn
definitely
into a
awesome moments.
camel.
Yes.
Summon sexy sheep. Jump super high.
I mean, I feel like you guys are really hating on the sexy sheep, but dang it, they
love
work.
Hey,
They work
you know,
And shoot an arrow through a drawbridge chain.
The natural 20.
yes, the things that saved us the most were random stuff that we did, and then Gravely's arrows. Like that's ultimately
Gravely's arrows.
It's
everything.
just all the DPS from
Yeah,
Gravely.
yeah.
and
No
then-
Gravely in the next chapter is going to mean that we're all just going to die.
Yeah, we lose 3 challenge ratings when Gravely's out of the picture. Like it's
Yeah.
brutal.
I rolled a lot of ones with that disadvantage. Was
Oh
awful.
yeah, at the end there.
Yeah, you were.
I hit a lot, but my damage only rolls 1, so it's not. I'm just like
Dude,
good.
yeah.
poking at them.
Yeah, I killed that one snake
It's
good.
tough.
You did?
Nice.
That was
The hoop.
sick. 50 damage.
Yeah.
Woo.
That was amazing.
The hoop over the first
And then
snake is
7
one of those
the other guy.
moments where it's like, oh no, this epic final battle might end real quick if he just like
Got
gets
you,
everybody
fool.
with a hoop.
Well, you wouldn't want to turn it back on because then they could
It
jump
just
through.
appears.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a one.
You're like
trick.
another snake comes in through
One
the
trick
portal.
hoop.
Surprise!
Well, I think we should take another opportunity to say thank you to our listeners.
Hi,
so
honey.
thanks to everybody, both family and friends and newcomers and new people to DM, to D&D and to DMing and to playing. Thank you to anybody that is willing to give this game a chance and our podcast a chance, and let us know what you think. You can email us, you can tweet at us, you can respond on Instagram, all the different places that we talk about in our show notes.
Yeah.
Huzzah!
Huzzah!
Make life an adventure.
Wait, should we sing the song? Do do
Yeah.
do 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 do.
I'm not doing it.
I
So you guys are in a
to
tavern.
start to see like what key we're in or where. Like, I don't know where we're going with
It's
this.
cute that you think we can do a key.
So fun.
All right.
Good night.
Next season on Knights of the Roll Table.
Does that happen a lot?
I am playing Jarek Darkharbor.
Coach, the dwarf barbarian.
I'll be playing Saeleas.
I will be playing Sarsa Demi-Salt.
If the siren's call of adventure happens, we might need to go.
You hear a rustling from the tree line.
Hold still.
I'm super uncomfortable.
A corn muffin as a down payment.
Is a corn muffin worth 6 gold?
I could make a lot of them.
This is the best idea I've ever had.
Here we go.
Listen, you can never be too prepared.
Is my beard burning?
Welcome, Your Majesty.
There's no way that this could go wrong.
Oh, this is weird.